Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Merle Massie, and I am the coordinator for undergraduate research initiatives here at the University of Saskatchewan. And today is a special session for the students in the SURE program and any other students across USask. I did post this on pause as well, to meet our 2021-2022 USSU, so that's University of Saskatchewan Students' Union Executive. And we have all four of them with us today. And with that, I am going to ask Tasnim to introduce herself first.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tasnim Jayasi. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the current USSU president. And I am also a College of Arts and Science student studying political studies and women's and gender studies. Would you like me to give a briefing of my role as well, Merle?
Absolutely, that'd be super.
Awesome. So as the president of the USSU as a whole includes 4 executive members that oversee many different aspects of our organization. And the Students' Union represents post-secondary student concerns to the university and multiple levels of the government, including the provincial and federal government as well. And we are always encouraging all full-time and part-time and off-campus undergrad students to reach out to us so that we can collaborate on advocacy efforts to ensure that students are having a great experience during their time on campus. As the president of the organization, I oversee all the affairs of our organization, and I also serve as a chief spokesperson as well of this organization. And in doing so, I also present on various advocacy and lobbying efforts too, where I'm currently in collaboration with the Canadian Research Intensive University Councils as well. We call that UCRU. And additionally, at the moment, a big part of our lobbying efforts includes creating a lobbying document that we are collaborating with the University of Regina Students' Union on, specifically to seek an elimination of provincial student loan interest. We are also asking for an extension on the student loan repayment grace period, as well as increasing scholarships, bursaries, and grants for international students and Indigenous students, as well as asking for policy reviews on sexual violence policies across all post-secondary institutions in Saskatchewan. So those are some of the bigger initiatives that are coming from my portfolio this year.
Those are huge. Okay, now you get to pick on one of your fellow exec members and ask them to go next.
Absolutely. Ebony, you have the honors.
Yeah, thank you, Taz. Yeah, and thank you, Merle, for having us. My name is Abhishek Goswami. I'm the current USSU Vice President Operations and Finance. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm in my 3rd year of biomedical neuroscience and business. So yeah, my portfolio kind of lies on different things all together. So my major thing is like the financial aspects of USSU, like working with the managers and our controller on like preparing the budget, which I'm working right now. So my entire 3 months are working for the budget and analyzing the past years and the month, so that how we can predict the next year and what we can prepare so that we are in a good financial situation and the next execs can do all the projects which they want to execute. So that's a major part. Then the operations side, I work with our other managers, facilities manager and business manager, to seeing how our operation is going at like Lewis Loft and Lewis, like our cafe and the bar and restaurant which we have on campus. So seeing all those operations and the tenants which are existing in our food court. So everything is okay, like, yeah, is there any issues, safety and all the things. So we keep on update each other's. So yeah, that's the thing. And the other big part of my job is like handling campus groups. So campus groups are a major integral part of our university, where students can like join different campus groups, from academics to sports, cultural debates, and a lot of others. Like there are a lot, like, yeah, I can't name them. Yeah. And once they rectify with USSU, they get a lot of privileges, like, yeah. And this year we have grants which we give them. Like we have 8 types of grants, which in total ranges from like total range is up to $3,000. So yeah, each group can apply those amount and they can work on their projects and initiative. And like, yeah, we have a lot of grants over there, and we have a lot of benefits to groups who ratify with us, like uh, hosting free events. We don't take money if they want to host events in Lewis, booking tunnels, pays booking, and a lot of administration help, financial help, and the awards and everything. So that's yeah, that's what we do. Then I work with the faith leader community, like to support them and how students with different faith can come together and like, yeah, feel better in the campus community. Then the other part is like the transit, the major thing. So I work with the city on there's a committee which we created this year. It's like City of Saskatoon and Students Connection Committee. So that's kind of the connection between the university, city, and the students. So because there was a huge void which was existing on our campus, that there was no connection with the city and the students. So it was so this year we kind of created a committee which I'm chairing this year. So I build those relationship with the city, whether we need to talk about accessibility, sustainability, indigenous engagement, about or recreational activities or transit or health or those kind of projects. So I work on those aspects with the city, and the major part is transit. Then I also work with the VP Saints, like, yeah, Nicole, with our student affairs, like on student health and dental plan. So if how it's going smoothly, then the financial aspect, where we can use our money for better outcome of students, like, yeah, how we can reduce the fee by using our reserves and everything. So those part, yeah. And some of my ongoing projects is like working with the new campus group management system, like how it can be improved, and like how so that the transition of each year coming along for the campus groups can be very easy. Then the student entrepreneur project, and like making and facilitate like giving opportunities to students so that they can come forward and they can, if they want to run a business or they want to start in those ideas, those things. And then building those connection with this like campus community so that we can have a better engagement on our campus. And yeah, I work with Taz, like our president JC, with the U crew on research and lobbying things. So yeah, it's kind of thing. It's interesting. It's a lot of stuff, doing numbers, making checks. My major part of the job is a lot of signing, reading bunch of documents, signing every day. Yeah, but it's a fun job. Like, yeah, and I highly encourage students to engage in USSU or even any leadership roles, because these are really good roles which can give you a professional like experience at such a early stage of life. And like you learn a lot of things every day. We all learn, and like we all are growing. It's a lot of things. Yeah.
Abhinav, we're going to come back to
Yeah.
that particular question as we go a little on. You
Yeah.
get to pick one of the remaining two execs and send the floor across to them.
I will give to Thakir. Yeah.
All right, I guess, hi everyone, my name is Thakar of Thakar. My pronouns are he/him, and I'm the current Vice President Academic for the USSU. So in my role as the VP Academic, I mostly deal with any academic concerns that students have and make sure that they're being resolved. So I mostly deal with, academic grievances, academic appeals. If you have, right now, I'm mostly dealing with any COVID-19 accommodations, just guiding them how they can get those accommodations. So any of the academic concerns, obviously, you can reach out to me. Other than that, I actually sit on various committees throughout the university. I think there's like 14 committees or something. So I'm the student voice in different decision-making that happens within campus. So best example would be APC, because we had to approve the delayed start this year. So it's a good thing that I'm the student voice there at different university level committees. Other than my committee work and my grievance work, I had a few initiatives I worked on this year. And so some of the main ones are I'm working with the College of Graduate and Postgraduate Studies to make that grad transition program. So it's still in works, and hopefully we'll have something by March. I'm also working with the USSU Help Center. We're making a prep hub for students. So we're getting LSAT books, MCAT books. So you can head over to the USSU Help Center. This will be up and running within a month too. And so you can, other than that, if I provide any accommodations, for example, when I came into the role, I asked Patty to make some exam writing centers for students. So any type of academic things I deal with, yeah, and that's mainly my role. I'm like an academic advocate, and I mainly work with any academic things the students have. And I guess I'll pass it on to Nicole.
Thank you, Thakar. Thank you for inviting me here. My name is Nicole Science, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm from the College of Engineering, and my role here is VP Student Affairs. So my position is elected, and I'm responsible for non-academic and non-governmental affairs. And this is kind of to enhance the student experience, and I also help the students bridge to different resources at the university. And some of these ones are sustainability, housing, parking, safety, health and wellness, equity and access, and yeah, and social life and events. So this year, for example, we launched Accessibility Week Awareness at the USSU. And I'm really happy that we have like this week to show students that we care for equity. Some of the other things that I do is like I sit with the center. So we have the Women's Center, we have the Pride Center, we have the Food Center, the Help Center, the Safe Walk, and the Student Crew. So I also deal with that. Sorry, my pet is here, so sorry for the background noise.
Not a worry.
Yeah, and some of other things, as Abinet mentioned, is that I also help with the health and dental plan. Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. Okay, so now you're on screen, so I'm going to ask you the next question first, and then we'll just go back the other way. I'm curious to know why did you run to be part of the USSU, and how is it what you expected, or is it different than what you expected? So first, why, and then how's it going?
Sure, thank you for the question. Yeah, so why is because I have been passionate about like the change, and I wanted to see change on the student advocacy, and also
I can handle that. You just keep talking.
okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
There's a question that came in on the chat.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the things that kind of helped me came along to this position was looking for change and advocacy, and also inclusivity. For example, I was aware that students or international students couldn't run before for some issues, and we changed now this with help of all the of all of my team actually. Yeah. So that's kind of why. Also, what was the second one? How was it?
Yeah, like is your position what you were expecting it to be, or is it different, or yeah? Is it
Yeah,
what you
sure.
expected?
So definitely it's a learning curve. The first couple of weeks was kind of like, oh, what's this? Or like, how is this all from a management perspective handled? So yeah, it was a little bit shocking. Now I think that I have learned a lot. And yeah, I think from management side, like it was not as what I expected, because I'm pretty new on this. But of course I have learned.
That's awesome. How about you, Thakar? Why did you run, and is it what you expected?
Well, I always wanted to be part of student governance or run for one of these, but my biggest limitations was the fact that I actually wanted to finish my degree first. And so once I had the chance to run for the office, I actually wanted to incorporate a few things after having a role as a student senator within the university senate. It was quite an experience, and I wanted to bring about a few changes or a few things that I didn't like, and I want to advocate on those pieces. And so I had a few instances within the university where I thought that as the VP academic, I couldn't probably suggest certain changes that would enhance the campus activity. And so that's why I specifically ran for the VP academics role, because I had a few, you can say, academic hurdles in my last year of undergrad, which motivate me to actually run for the position. So I want to make sure that other students don't have these hurdles once they're in their academic journey. And I want to be an advocate for the future USask students and make sure they have a smooth sailing ride up until they leave the university and have a good career after that. And so that was my main motivation. I want to bring about change. And after becoming part of the Senate, it kind of reinvigorated me to run for this position, I would say. What was the second question?
Is it what you were expecting?
Is it what I would say it's kind of what I was expecting, but not so much. I wasn't really expecting a lot of student emails in terms of, frustration about my role as what I'm doing in terms of the COVID-19 accommodations. So it's a very transitional year, I would say. It's a very tricky year. I did not expect students to be as frustrated with the different changes that are happening within the university. And I completely understand, because of the fact that, these changes do affect student life. So I did not expect a lot of student grievances. I think we had more just because it's an online year. So a few things I did not expect, but other than that, it was kind of, I did enjoy the role. I think every student should run for VP academic. It's a lovely role. You get to be part of different university committees and advocate for student rights and advocate for what students want within their courses within their university. So I think it's one of the best roles within the USSU, I would say, and I would encourage all the students to run for it. Just because you become part of the university, you can say, decision-making process, and you get a voice, and so you're the student voice, and you can project whatever the student body is feeling within these committees, and you can actually make a substantial change with your advocacy efforts. And so I would encourage all the students to run for this position. Yeah, I think it's a great experience. Again, with COVID-19, it differs a bit, but I think with the VP academic, we do host 2 big events. We have always something going on in this portfolio. So I did enjoy the role quite a bit.
I think that's awesome. How about you, Abhinav? Why did you run for a governance position, and is it what you were expecting?
I'm really passionate about leadership, actually, and I believe that it can really impact a lot of things and lead to a change or move towards a change, I will say. And since I moved to Canada, I was involved with USSU in my first year, and with other 4 other campus groups, basically. So in my first year, I was like international student representative and the vice president operations and finance for International Student Association. And even after that year, then again, I was international student representative and the president of International Student Association. And then I ran for this position, like the VP of. And so I was like kind of basically involved in leadership and like in different roles, different committees and everything. Even I was in budget and finance committee last year, how the money runs, how we allocate money and everything, financial strategies and everything. So that's something my part, like, yeah. And yeah, I just feel it's so good. Like, yeah, it's like these positions are really leadership positions, and just like, yeah, in student governance, you can do a lot of build, I will not say make changes, but make certain moves that will go towards changes. So that's what it is. We have only 1 year to do certain things. So we all kind of build things up and like, yeah, we just tilt in a good direction at the end of the day. So yeah, that's, I will say, the part 1 of the answer. And the second one, okay. So it will be a mixed answer, what I was expecting and what I got. So with regards to my portfolio, it's like a massive one. So with regard to campus groups, I was expecting that I will need to handle like 150-ish group or 140-ish group, and they're all exec members, and there are tons of emails and everything, the ratification application and everything. So I was pretty sure like what I'm getting into. And even the financial thing, I was like, okay, I need to prepare the budget. But I was not sure that I need to sign a lot of documents every day and review a lot of financial documents. So that was a new part. But and the other thing which I really liked and learned was like how we, like in our Lewis, when we were opening our restaurants and bars. So I was like, we used to have regular discussions with our manager, like how we need to open, what will the financial strategies, how we need to balance our cost, employment and everything in those aspects. So it was such a great learning experience, and it's still learning. Like every day you learn so much, how you need to talk to people, how you can approach them so that they really listen, how much, like put the hammer on, like everything, like, so you just learn. And like all these financial aspects, it's really nice. And even working with on the lobbying for the federal level, it's like a unique experience. So somehow I knew it, what I'm into, but a lot of things were new. And I think it's every day, it's a new experience. Our whole team, we learn from each other, and I think we grow each other to like grow together. Yeah, I will say that. Yeah, thank you.
That's fantastic. Tasnim, why did you run, and is it what you were expecting?
I campaigned for this position due to my love for student governance and student advocacy. In my time on campus, I've been heavily involved with student governance at large. I previously served as the president and also a vice president of the Arts and Science Students Union there. And that role, I got to work very closely with the USSU executives of that year. And additionally, after that role, I was hired as the USSU Women's Center Coordinator, working on a lot of feminist and women's related advocacy campaigns and such that was related to the issues that women on our campus faced. So in that way, I was very much familiarized with the governance structure of the USSU, and I was also very familiarized with working with the managers and all of the key staff roles at the USSU prior to this present position. So for me, it was I would say it was a very unique experience in that way, where I was acquainted with a lot of the structures already about how this organization runs. And you had asked also specifically what made me run. I would say that as a woman with a disability, I use a wheelchair for mobility. And so coming onto campus at an early age, it was such a new and different environment for me. And I recognized a lot of the barriers that students face. And coming into this role, and not just for myself, for my whole executive team, we really value encompassing equity, diversity, inclusion, and decolonization into all of the work that we do, along with anti-racism and anti-oppression, following the memorandum of understanding that was signed with the University of Saskatchewan last year. So these are core guiding principles that we follow and initiate in all of our projects and events. So that is something that we really, really prioritize. And it is something that I wanted to see continue on in the USSU governance structure. So I'm really happy about that we have been able to carry the torch forward and be able to continue making our campus more inclusive. And in terms of how this role is going, it is certainly a very unique experience as executives this year, dealing with this ongoing pandemic, is specifically this very new vaccine that we are getting in our student population. As an organization, we are constantly encouraging students who can be to get vaccinated to keep our campus safe. But with the COVID measures and protocols, there are a lot of unique inquiries that we're having to respond to. So that is something new that I did not expect coming into this. In the summertime, in the beginning of our terms, we did not have the vaccines yet. So we weren't sure what this year will look like, whether it will be all online or whether it will be hybrid. So those are certain certain new factors and variables that we have had to adjust to and ensure that we are always in making sure that students on our campus feel properly secured and supported by the Students' Union.
Tasnim, could you give us just a little bit of an overview of what the election process looks like and how students can become involved in that and the timing around a few of those things?
Absolutely, be happy to do that. So at the moment, we are very close to our general election seasons. So in February, we start posting about calls for nominations, and for these roles, any undergraduate students at our university can get involved and can run in these campaigns. And in the beginning, there are introductory meetings that students who do fill out the nomination forms are invited to for any 4 of these executive positions. And so all in those introductory meetings, all the guidance on campaigns, what's allowed, what's not allowed, all those rules and policies are set up. And then in March, there is a week's worth of campaigning that happens. In that time, there are several questions and answer periods where students can ask about the campaigns that students are going into this election with and be able to judge for themselves which candidates to vote for. And then later on in March, near the end of March, that is when usually this happens in the last week of March in particular, we have a 2-day voting period where all undergraduate students can vote for the students that have chosen to nominate themselves as candidates for the USSU elections. We are constantly encouraging our students on our campus to be involved in student governance. It is really critical that students' voices are being heard. So we have been reminding our University Students' Council and our Association of Constituency Presidents to make sure that they are spreading the word about these upcoming elections to get more students involved in feeling confident enough to run for these elections and being prepared enough as well.
That's brilliant. Thank you. There were some questions coming in on the chat just privately to me. And so I was like, I think we'll just get Tasnim to answer some of these questions. That makes sense. Because yeah, and then so once you've won an election, when does your term start?
Our term starts in May. So us as execs, we are closing up on April 30th, and on the 1st of May, the new executives come in. In the meantime, I would encourage anyone who wants to learn more about these roles to send us, any of us, an email. If any of our portfolios have interested you, please send us an email. We'd love to chat about our roles and get you familiarized. You don't have to, be fully sure that you want to run. Even if you just have a glimmer of thought or hope of running, we'd be more than happy to talk to any of you. And additionally, one other way that you can keep up with the USSU student governance is our weekly University Students Council meetings. This happens on Thursdays at 6 p.m. If anyone is interested, you can feel free to send me a message in the chat as well, and I can forward you the links to how to go get the Zoom links for those meetings. And in that meeting in particular, we have 15 different constituencies, and specifically around two students from each constituencies comes and joins us for those meetings, and we have large discussions on several issues that are going on in our campus and colleges, and specifically the 15 different constituencies includes the 13 different colleges, so around two students from each college. And also the other 2 constituencies one is for the Indigenous Students Union and the other is for the International Students Association, as they hold specialized seats in our council as well as voting representatives.
That's fantastic. And what a great overview. Thank you so much. My final question, and then we'll open it up for questions from anyone else who's here, but I'm curious to know, are there any particular skills or things that you've learned in your role that you can see yourself porting forward and taking forward or putting on your resume in terms of particular skill sets that you've learned from being part of the governance process as a student that can then go forward into your professional life? Any examples?
Would you like me to go first?
Yeah, I would actually, because you're up now, so you might as well, and then we'll domino back on through.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that sounds great. I would say that some of the key guiding principles for myself is something that I always have valued is the idea of intersectionality of lived experiences. What I mean by that is that everyone on our campus has such diverse lived experiences in their lives, whether it is your gender, your race, your disability, the many identity factors just give everybody such a unique experience while you're there. And so I have learned the importance of community empowerment and what sharing those lived experiences can do to enact change for the betterment of everyone around us. Because if we don't speak up, these issues will not be resolved on our campus. And that is what the USSU always is encouraging, to ensure that students feel that they have a voice and that they have a seat at decision-making tables around our campus, that their voices are being heard and their feedback is being received and noted as well. And I cannot stress this enough, the importance of always asking students how they're doing in terms of the various key issues that we deal with constantly, such as accessibility, sustainability, queer rights, feminist rights, and women's rights. There are so many diverse issues that we're dealing with, but all that is continued to move forward and remains in a sustainable pathway by receiving all the diverse inputs. And so we're always seeking to amplify and mobilize our student community through efforts of community empowerment. And that is what I have learned in my role, and that the strengths of it is what I have picked up.
Well, that's fabulous. And I can see you taking those forward into all kinds of different professional roles and really excelling and continuing to build on those. How about you, Abhinav? What skills or abilities that have you learned from being in your role in student government that you think you can carry forward into your professional life coming forward?
I think the one thing I will say is very important, like building those connection and communications, like which I think most of us are having, like the gap between, like, yeah, there are two parties, there's a gap. We accuse each other for different things, but if we kind of communicate in a better way, express our concerns, so those can be resolved, and it's a solution basically. So things can be handled with just a communication. So that's the one key factor I realize, yeah. And the other thing is like sitting on different people's chairs and analyzing a situation, so you can really see different perspective of the same thing actually. So that I will say, removing your lens from your eyes or like your brain and just seeing things as they come, I will say, yeah, that thing. Then one of the wonderful experience I will say, which I learned from like my all of managers, is like how to see things for a vision of 5 years or 10 years, how we manage things or like calculate things or analyze things for next 5 years. Because in our roles, we just like specifically here, like in the finance thing, we cannot just say, okay, next year this will, so we have to calculate things for next 5 years. What will be our financial situation there? Like how much revenue we will generate, what will be expenses, can we afford this thing, can we not, what we can do to reduce our expenses, and like, yeah, so that we don't get in a deficit and everything, those kind of things. I will say it's like, it was a phenomenal experience learning those things, yeah, that I can really put into any professional experience or even in my life actually. Okay, what I need to do next, and like planning all those things. Then other thing I will say, managing like groups, the campus groups, I think it's one of the, I think, great experience, to be very honest, handling different groups, different people, different ideologies, and just coming, all of them asking different questions every time. Some might be yelling, some might be very happy and everything, and just providing the best service, like, yeah, or like opportunity to them actually at the end of the day. So those leadership roles to guide them, like, okay, this, you can do this thing by that way. So all those things. And I think recently my experience, actually, I think it was this, I think, yeah, it's this year's. So there were a couple of groups actually who were doing events like Riga, like in the starting of the year, like during COVID, and they were like, hey, we are doing this event, like the food drive and everything, and we are cooking, and yeah. So I was like, hey, it's a really great initiative. It's very good. But as we all know, there's the Omicron variant is spreading over, and yeah, you should kind of hold this thing off, or you can provide canned food or like pre-packed food from Walmart or anywhere. Yeah, that could be best. And then I like wrote it like, hey, I will suggest be mindful of your friends, family, and loved ones, because we are like, if you are vaccinated but others are not, so yeah, just think of those part. And after I think few days, that group kind of changed the event to like the canned food drive basically. So I was really happy, and then like similar stories other groups, so they really listen to you, and like, yeah, they listen to you, and they just do like those things and like understand why we are saying those things. And like, and a ton of stories I have regarding insurance, why it's important. That's again a fun thing, to be very honest. So yeah, yeah, that's from my end actually. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Actually, I'm going to pick on Nicole next, and ask you same thing. So, what skills have you learned from this role that you're going to be able to take forward into your professional life?
Sure, thank you. So one of the skills that I think that I learned the most was project management, and me just being an executive with a disability, invisible disability, that is kind of like executive dysfunction. So I think it was really like challenging, and also like a really good experience to have like be on the management side for me career, and also like just build strategies for me on how to be more flexible and strategic about how I do things. But also this year of flexibility and patience, especially like during the pandemic and after the pandemic, and like we never know what's gonna happen. Like, so we have to adjust, and we have to adjust quickly. So we have to be flexible, but we also have to be quickly on how we do things. So that's sort of the things that I have been learning lots and strengthened. One of the things that I really like, and this was kind of reinforced in this position, was the advocacy and leadership piece, but doing it with diverse and accessible lens on your side, like also seeing these on different cultural contexts that may imply for different students. I think that's one of the greatest things that I really passionate and I really like in this job. As well as sharing committees, it was something really new for me, like just the governance size, it was new for me. I learned a lot. We have like an excellent share where I like learn lots of things from the share. And for me taking that back to my own committees and trying to share the best I could, especially yeah, for internationals and also like sustainability. And also like in kind of in committees where we need diverse context, and yeah.
That makes perfect sense. I know that learning to function effectively on a committee, that's a skill unto itself. And if you're on a lot of committees, then you can add that to your resume and show it. Yeah, this is important. Thakar, you're up. What have you learned? What skill sets or related sorts of things have you learned from this position that you're going to be able to take forward into your professional life?
Well, there are quite a few skill sets that I've gained, and quite a few that I've improved on because of this position that I hold. And one of the main skills or things I've improved on is how to be an active advocate for students. And so in my role, I'm always advocating for students, especially working with a lot of grievance cases or any of the student concerns. I've gained a much more appreciation for how to communicate with students and how you can see the spectrum of difference between ideas of different students and what they feel like should be the right thing to do. So I've learned a lot about communication and how you can facilitate communication between students and the university administration, how I can be a better advocate for students, what sort of material should I go in within a committee or meeting beforehand so that I can better represent the student, how to uh, be a leader in a space, how to act professionally. And so these are all the areas that I've improved on within this role. I've learned how to collaborate with different people across the university and within our roles. So I collaborate with Nicole to get the late night study thing up and running for the Murray Library. I got to collaborate with, I guess, the university library for the tutoring service. And I got to collaborate with a lot of different university folks on different things. And I had a much more appreciation to work in a more collaborative setting and enhance my collaboration abilities, I would say. And I would say it also gave me a much more understanding of looking at people from different lenses and understanding that people come from different backgrounds and different ideologies that they follow. And you have to be mindful of those. And you have to make sure that you're accommodating of the students, and you have to make sure that you listen to people. And so these are all the different things I learned and improved on. And I think, yeah, these are mostly the main ones.
Well, I think that that's absolutely fabulous. And as usual, the group of students who are here listening, they're ahead of everything as always, and questions are already starting to come in on the chat. And so now it is time to put those questions in. But Agnes has the first one, and she says, how do you balance your work at the USSU and your academic life? Takir, since you're on my screen, why don't you try and answer that first? How do you balance?
The USSU has a beautiful policy in regards to balancing, which is you can only three classes while you're in this role. So that helps balance your academic life with your school life. But other than that, I would recommend, if you are within such role, to make sure that you're on top of your classes. So make sure that you're doing things early, doing things on Saturdays and Sundays, so you have time during the week to work. And I sometimes I would think, if you have the ability, take some easier classes, I would say, and don't take some of the rigorous classes like 10 250 or 255 or some other classes. There are different courses within our colleges that are less intensive than others. So I would probably recommend those, and just make sure that you're on top of things. Make sure you don't drift away, and make sure you're on top of things during the school year, so you're not left behind academically, and this way you can focus on your work as well as balance your academic life.
That's awesome. Do any of the rest of you have any thoughts on how you keep balance?
I will go, yeah. The one of the key things which I realized that you have to be a little bit ahead of your school thing, which I do. Like, yeah, I have literally marked my assignments 4 days prior to the deadline. So I consider that as my deadline, basically. So I can be ahead of a little bit, because you never know in these governance roles, like any day, anytime, random things pop out, and like you have to like do things, like, yeah, or you have to like put your mind into it. And the other things I will say is, like, some weeks are really, really busy that you won't be able to do a lot of things, but some weeks might be flexible. So you have to kind of things like, whenever you get time, do things. Yeah, don't say, okay, this week I will do, next week. No, whenever you get time, do things, like have a proper balance. Take care of your mental health, highly recommended. Like, yeah, that's very important. And like, it takes breaks. We have a lot of vacations. Yeah, we have a lot of things, like, yeah, so it use all those things, have good time with your execs, your managers. Yeah, yeah, express yourself. It will be a wonderful journey. Yeah. Thank you.
Nicole or Tasnim, do you guys have thoughts on balance, on how you keep it, or if you keep it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's critical, especially at this time in this pandemic, that all students are taking care of their mental health. So for me, I always ensure that in my day there is time to take some mental health breaks. I think this is important for all students to have some time away from electronics. Stay away from screens. I know that we're all doing that right now, especially with online learning. Also, always encouraging students to seek out the services of the Student Wellness Center. They provide services at large for various issues students are facing at this point. It is a very isolating time as well, so we're always trying to look out for students because of these added stress factors that all folks are having to go to. So always encouraging students to prioritize their mental health, and that's something that I am doing for myself as well.
I'm glad to hear that. That's important. Nicole, any final thoughts on balance?
Sure. Before I didn't know how to handle Google Calendar, and I think right now I would say make sure you take advantage of different apps that are set up for you, especially if you have an invisible disability. There are lots of apps that you could take advantage of. So I go with Write and Write. I go with Otter, and now I do Google Calendar where I put reminders, and I also make sure that I use some time just to not think about it, the work or even studies, because it's also, I wouldn't lie, it's a tough role being also a student. So, but it's really nice at the same time, but it's tough. So just making sure that I have some family time or friends time. It's something that I make sure I do during my day, as well as just exercise makes a change for me. So even if I want to debrief a little bit, I just go and walk my dog. Yeah.
And that's a brilliant way to do that. We've had another question that came in on the chat. Ayush said, what are the soft skills that are required to be elected to the USSU executive? Any soft skills that you recommend people work on before they run for an election?
I think always critical thinking is really essential, because we get a lot of emails from a diverse range of student opinions, thoughts, and issues. And for us, it's about ensuring that we can make sure that this student is being heard by reaching out to several departments and offices across our campus. And if the primary folks we reach out to doesn't work, we then go further up and then do a lot of thinking out the box about how we can get to a resolution to support the specific inquiries that we're dealing with. So that's something that is something that we're always having to do as execs, to expand our horizons and always, use a bit of imagination. Like, instead of giving up on problems, we are always continuing to ensure that we have met some type of resolution in all of the inquiries that we reach out to. We will never immediately say no. We will try and get to the bottom of the inquiries that we receive.
I think that's brilliant. If there's any of the rest of you that can think of soft skills that people could maybe be, that would help them get elected.
I think in terms of elections, public speaking would be one of the soft skills you can work on, especially during the campaign season, that you might need to work on that. Other than that, I would say teamwork, because we work in a team of 4 to make decisions. I think teamwork is one of the soft skills that you can work on. But I would say in terms of election, public speaking is the main thing that you can work on. You will get the votes based on how the public perceives you. And I guess that's one of the main things they can focus on.
I think that's brilliant. I haven't seen any more questions coming in on the chat. That scares you. Oh, I can understand that. Maybe get really good on Canva too, to make yourself, posters or that kind of thing. Tasnim and Nicole, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, these are not skills that you need to come into the election season being pros. There's always time to improve, and there's so many students out there in student governance who do a lot of training, just basic student governance literacy skills and such. There's a lots of tips out there that students are always seeking to help each other out with during campaign season, including the USSU as well, right? All the execs can talk to you, give pointers and such. So yeah, no one's a pro. We're all students. We're all getting by, and we're all learning as we go, is something that I wanted to say. And if public speaking scares you, there's a lot of opportunities on campus to do public speaking initiatives. I know that Toastmaster in particular, a group on campus, does a lot of that. We have a debate club as well on our campus that just enhances students' speaking skills in general. So lots of opportunities out there.
Nicole, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Thank you. I will definitely echo what Tasmin says, but I wanted to add that some of the skills that you might find useful is research. Make sure that if you're advocating for something in your platform, you also make a little bit of research on how you're going to make that, and research like how is the organization working, it aligns with you. Yeah, a little bit of research is not bad.
Well, considering that's what my office promotes all the time, is undergraduate students doing research, that's the great answer. That's what we do all the time.
And it will be also helpful, like even when you are in your position already, like you always have to do research on what you want to do on projects and things to get done with your team.
Brilliant answer. That's all. That's fantastic. This has been an excellent session. I've learned a lot, and I've been around campus for a long time. But I do think that Tasnim, can I get you to just talk for a minute, maybe about the structure, because we've talked a little bit about the governance side of the USSU and the elections and how that works. Can you also talk about the staff side and what all the USSU owns and runs?
Yeah, absolutely. So on campus, you'll notice this Place Royale Student Center. And so the first and second floors of that building in particular are the areas that we own, including North Concourse and the bus terminal section as well of the building. And then we also own the Memorial Union building. That is the building just right beside Place Royale. Specifically, you'll see the big sign out front with Louis Science there, and in that building in particular, we have the Women's Center, Pride Center, Hop Center, and also we have Louis Pub and Louis Loft upstairs. And then just going back to the Place Royale Student Center, you'll notice in that building, right beside where the seats are for the bus stop inside the building, you'll notice the USSU office as well. All students can go there and ask any questions about student governance, or even any student related item that you're having issues with. Our academics and governance assistant and other staff are there at all times to support students and ensuring that they are receiving the proper resources. And in terms of other structures that we have several managers that oversee Louis, and we also have an IT manager that oversees all the structures of the website and other IT needs of our students. They can also reach out to, essentially for students, they can also reach out to us, but we work in collaboration with our senior managers as well. We have a manager that oversees our business and finance, our communications, we have a manager that specifically looks at accounting, and a manager that specifically looks at facilities as well. So 4 key pillars of support is something that we are very grateful to have the support of these managers. Hold a lot of institutional knowledge as well, so they're always seeking to work with students during when they are execs. And also in terms of the elections, all of our contact information, I believe Abhishek has put that in the chat, but all of our contact information is there. And when students run for elections, they often reach out to the managers as well to just get an overall feel of what the managers do, just to be more prepared for the election. So that's another tip that you can act upon as well.
I think that that's fabulous. And with that, I'm going to open the floor to any of the four of you. Any final thoughts that you wanted to add to today?
I will say one thing actually. Don't be scared of these positions. These are learning positions. We all four are students at your university. We are having the same experience and everything, but yeah, we are dealing different things. We all came here as students, and now we are in these jobs. We learned, and it was a great journey for us. The one thing I will recommend is like, never hesitate to ask people, because if you don't ask, you will never learn. So yeah, just keep asking and don't hesitate. Yeah, there are a lot of things. Okay, this thing, I don't know how to do. Just tell, like, be vulnerable and ask people for help, and people will help you out. I can assure you that. Yeah, but you have to be vulnerable too. Yeah, put your ego down a little bit. That's the only thing I will say. Yeah, thanks.
In terms of closing thoughts, I'm just going to reiterate that all the things that we talk about on a weekly basis at our University Students Council. So our council meeting happens on Thursdays at 6 p.m. during the fall and winter terms. So we'll be meeting up at 6 p.m. today online. And so I am putting it in the chat if you want links to the Thursday Students Council at 6, the meetings that happen. To learn more about student governance, you can email aga@usask.ca, and our academics and governance assistant, Dallas, can give you the links and forward you the packages and agenda materials for the evening.
Awesome.
And I would just like to just say a few things before closing. Just make sure that students know that they can reach out to us if they have any concerns. We are here for you. We are advocates for you. And so if you have any academic, non-academic, any concerns, feel free to reach out to your executives. We're here to help. And I would encourage all of you to, run in the USSU elections that are coming up.
I just want to echo what all exec have been saying, and also iterate that we have the centers open. So we have the Help Center, the Women's Center, and the Pride Center, where you guys can go and hang out, or also reach out for help.
That's brilliant. And with that, I want to say thank you to all four of you for coming and sharing your time. I have recorded the session and I will post it to our YouTube site, and I will send you the link so that you will all have it. And just for everyone who's here, I'm sure that they agree with me. A big round of applause and our thanks for first of all for being there, for running and being advocates on behalf of students, and then of course for coming to us today and telling us about your experiences. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us on. This was a great opportunity to connect with students. And again, please reach out to us for any academic and non-academic questions or inquiries. We're always here to help and advocate for students.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Tasnim, and congratulations and thanks to all four of you for running. And we'll do our best to advertise so that we have lots of people running for the next year's positions. Thanks again for coming.